Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building, Ice Cube.
Yay.
What up, Cube?
Peace, Cube.
What's happening with you, man? I'm all good. How y'all feeling?
We're doing good. I see they messing with all your money, Cube. They messing with the big three because of COVID, the movies because of COVID. How you holding up, brother?
I'm all good. You know what I mean? I got enough, you know what I mean, to survive. So, I'm really worried about people who don't have enough and people who are out there struggling, with, losing income, struggling with, being kind of cooped up. I'm fine. I'll be all right.
Yeah, nothing about you says check to check, Ice Cube.
Nothing at all.
Well, that's good. That means I ain't cheated nobody out of nothing. So that's all good.
I agree with you on that. We were having this discussion about opening up the schools, and a woman sent me a DM. She said she was trying to get through, and she was like, look, I'm a single mother. I have 3 kids. I can't afford to hire a tutor. I can't even, teach my kids from home, and I have to go to work. So what am I supposed to do?
Hey, it's hard. It's everybody's kind of, playing it by ear in a way. This is new territory for a lot of people. And so I saw somebody say, I want my kids to go to school because I'm a bad teacher. You know what I mean? If they stuck with me, they ain't gonna learn nothing. So, it's all kind of circumstances that people got to get through, fight through. Just got to help each other, support each other, let each other know that, we're going through the same things. Everybody cooped up and ready to bust out for sure.
Absolutely.
Right.
Cube, I was sitting back thinking, okay, a creative like yourself, you probably sitting around writing scripts and, writing TV shows, writing films. You said, nah, F all that. I'm going to write a contract for Black America.
Yeah. I thought it was important to try to put all these issues in one document, and it's far from perfect. Of course, we're going to go out there and still, find some of the people who've been experts in all these fields and who've been working on all these fields. But we needed a jump off to me. We needed something that, people can rally behind from all, walks of America and try to rally behind a document and try to get something done across the board. Because if you just do police reform, it's just going to be abuses picking up in other areas. We got to do not only police reform, but justice reform and prison reform. And, the 13th Amendment is still, allows for slavery when it comes to being incarcerated. So these things need to be fixed, and it'll start, solving a lot of the problems that we have in America.
One thing I like with the police reform was the mandatory malpractice insurance that you talked about, because that is something that when you hit people in the pockets, I think that really does make such a difference. And so for police officers, just like a lawyer or a doctor, if they, commit malpractice, then that's something that the police department has to pay for. And I think once somebody keeps on doing things and they keep getting sued for malpractice, that is something that will make them say, okay, this person has to go.
Without a doubt, and it takes a lot of pressure off of all these, I know the DA, you want DAs to go after police, but they need police too to get on the stand and go against, and testify against, suspects or whatever. So, it's a fine line, and this would take some of the pressure off of it. It would be a money thing. And also, why should people pay taxes for police, and then you have a police abuse that power, and then the person sues the city, somebody sues the city, and now here again, the taxpayer has to pay again for the lawsuit. So for cops to have insurance and have to have malpractice insurance, stuff like that, I think it would, would pinpoint, blame where it needs to be, and it would get cops who excessively, have these complaints and have these lawsuits, the force would kick them off the force because it would just cost too much.
And I love the residency requirements, right? Which requires officers to live in the community that they're policing. Because in that case, like I always tell a story about, on my block, there was a kid that had Down syndrome. And when the cops were called, if they didn't know this kid and he was wilding out, they might pull out their gun or try to tase him or try to beat him, but they didn't know that he had problems. But everybody else in the neighborhood knew that the kid had problems, and hey, call his mom, call his pops, and that would de-escalate a lot of the problems that we would have.
Yeah, it's always a different philosophy. I think police should live in the community, or at least a large portion of them, at least, if somebody's at a station, at least 60% of that force or more needs to live 10 miles or less to that station. When you got people coming 30 miles into a community, they don't really care about that community. They know they can just go back home across the, wherever train tracks or freeway or highway, and then they don't have to deal with it. But, when there's people in the community, there's
Right.
people that your kids go to school with, and all these type things, I just think it makes people care about each other a little more and care about the communities a little more and take time. I remember, it was people with mental illnesses in our neighborhood, and the police, we knew some of them, and they would bring them home. Instead of taking them to the mental spot, they would actually drop them back off at the house, and sometimes it would diffuse the situation.
Right.
So I just think that the community, knowing the officers, the respect rises in both directions. And without respect, we're not going to get to a place of harmony. It's all, the people got to respect the police, but the police got to respect the people. And what's happening is people are losing respect for authority. And, once that happened, you got chaos. So, but authority has given their respect away by abusing their power, and not, digging into their humanity sometimes, and just, when you got power over somebody, sometimes, that makes you a monster. So, they need to work on themselves. The community, of course, need to work on itself, and get to a place where we can coexist.
Now, Cube, I have to say though, respectfully, a lot of that is NWA's fault, and I'm gonna tell you why. People in the community don't want to be police because y'all said fuck the police, and people in the community don't respect the police because y'all said fuck the police. A little bit, y'all.
Nah, you can't put that on. You can't put that on NWA. People felt that way before NWA,
and they still feel that way now.
Yeah, people felt that way before NWA. I grew up with people who felt that way. So this goes back, centuries, man. And so it's a problem that needs to be fixed, and it's not getting better. And it's getting to a point where, we can't live under these conditions. Something got to change. We can't do it. And we gonna change it, and they will change because, either they gonna change or we gonna change them. But something gonna happen. It ain't gonna stay the same. Can't.
I think they need to provide financial incentive for people from the hood who choose to go into law enforcement and then live in their communities to police their communities. Like, it should be like an extra bonus from law enforcement for people
or taking less taxes away. So if you live in the community that you police, they take less taxes.
One thing I will say though, I grew up with a police officer, and he told me he didn't want to work in the neighborhood where he was from or lived because it was dangerous for him. And so, even though he was a Black man, he was like, I'm working here because I can't work here. Too many people know me, and if something happens or I have to arrest somebody and everybody knows where I live, that's not safe.
Yeah, I mean, that's an issue too. That's a big problem. It's a concern. But I think, even if you try to find a happy medium with that, you still got to have people who who associated with the community, people
Right.
who know the community, not people who are just, who have no real feelings for the people in the community, and it's just a job or
They
it's a
should be
sport
human
or
beings.
whatever yeah, you
And
know,
I
so
always
I
feel
think
like
it's
people should have to do community service. Like that should be part of the requirement, where they do things that aren't interacting with people on a negative basis or because something bad is happening, but a lot more community service programs as part of their required hours.
I agree. You know, I think it's healthy both ways. You know, the officer, like you said, get a chance to learn the community, but also see the community in a different light. I remember we had football programs that the LA sheriffs would sponsor. You know, so we would have interactions with the sheriffs because we was playing their football teams and stuff like that. So these kind of things, they don't hurt. They only help. And so we just need people who understand the community, whether you live there or not, but you got to understand the community and want to better the community. Some people, it's like they're gearing up for a football game or something. It's a sport. They come in, crack some heads, tally up how many they got and go back home and have a good night's sleep and then come back the next day, for another round. So that mentality, however we get rid of it, it gotta go.
What political action are you putting behind the contract with Black America? Are you like, who are you presenting it to?
We're trying to present it to everybody. We want to present it to, people who can get behind it. First, we need support from the community, from our intelligent people in the community to look at the document, to, comment on it, to raise questions that we didn't raise, and just make the document better in all areas. And once we got something that I think is strong enough, we're going to present it to the parties, the candidates, and we're going to see who's going to get behind it, man, and who's going to support it and make it a reality. At this point, we catching hell no matter who in office, and we always have. And so we need to think about who's going to support this plan and try to, better the whole country, and one fell swoop is minimizing what needs to be done, but try to do it in a, across the board, broad manner, because these little, stomping out little fires here and there, it just ain't gonna cut it. With 13% of this country, more 13.5, and we deserve 13.5% of the pie, straight up across the board. In an organized way. So that's what we're trying to get to. We're not trying to get to reform. We need equality, straight up. Reform is actually tilting in a way. Why reform a system that was geared towards our demise? We need to be equal.
Yeah, fuck reform. We got to tear the whole system down, dismantle the whole mechanism of white supremacy, period.
And we need to know what we're asking for. That's
it just be reconstructed. When you say tear it down, people think you want to burn something down, tear something down, tear something up. It just need to be reconstructed, without the hate, straight up, without all the hate in there, without all the tricks and double talk and the lawyer talk and the fine print. We need, and also without the hidden plan to take everything back in 30 years. We need people to be fair, honest. If they really want to get this country going and they don't want it to come apart at the seams as it's coming apart at the seams right before our eyes. So we need to do something drastic to fix the problem at hand.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm a fan of having a plan because I love that, everybody's going out and protesting, but you do have to say, okay, this is what we want. This is what our demands are. And that is one of the most important things to do, right? You get everyone's attention, the media is focused on it. Now, what are we asking for? And so it is important for everyone to come together and say, okay, when it comes to education, this is what we want. When it comes to police, when it comes to jail, when it comes to finances, home ownership, all of those things are concrete steps. So I do, there's a lot of things in here that I agree with. And there's some things that you feel like should just be a given. Like, why is the Ku Klux Klan not considered a terrorist group? You know, that's something simple that they can do right away.
Exactly. You know, it's common sense things in here that would take the temperature down in this country and put the blame, you know, where it should be. So, you know, I just want to, you know, spark the dialogue. Like I said, this document is just a jump off. It's just for us to throw in good ideas and reform it and make it better. Refine it, sorry, but make it better and keep it moving in a positive direction till we all kind of have a consensus that, damn, you know, this is touching pretty much most of the things that we need to get done, and let's push these candidates to get behind it instead of just taking our vote, putting it in their back pocket, and doing what they want to do. We gotta twist that arm back a little bit and say, man, if y'all want to vote, you need to do this. And so that's the plan.
Let me ask you a question, Q. We look at a lot of these other communities, and we were talking to T.I. yesterday, and I drove into a Jewish community yesterday, and in their community, they do things and they rely on themselves. They have their own schools to teach their own history. They have their own playgrounds. They have their own businesses, and they support each other. You know, same thing with the Asian community. A lot of the Asian community, they have their own schools where they teach their own history and they support each other. Feels like our community is the only community that we don't have our own necessarily. We don't have our own schools. We don't teach our own history. We don't invest back into our own community. Do you think that should be the main start? Like start featuring our own, and not just HBCUs, because HBCUs is too late. That's college. I'm talking about from kindergarten, preschool, elementary, you know?
You know, I think it's a situation where those communities are financially stable. You know, they have financial institutions that could, you know, keep the stability there to support that. You know, we've never been financially stable as a community here. You know, as individuals, we get a foot up, but as a whole community, we never had the financial structures in place to do that. And even if we put them in place, there's a lot of sabotage with our progress. A lot of sabotage with, you know, if you've seen the history of Tulsa and Jacksonville, you know, there's been race riots that stopped, you know, great progress. So, you know, we've had a little bit of sabotage when it comes to us, you know, by, you know, a lot of different communities have, you know, been able to sustain where our things fall apart is because of stability. And I think with the contract with Black America, that stability will start being injected into the communities. You know, like I said, just financing. You know, all the banks in America only loan 3% of their money to Black homeowners and small businesses. You know, 97% of that money go elsewhere. You know, even in the government pensions, you know, we pay our full taxes, but they, you know, government still don't use Black contractors or Black businesses, and still we're underrepresented. You know, VCs, venture capital investors, you know, only invest 1% of their money in Black businesses. So 99% of the money is going somewhere else. These things have to change. You know, we need, you know, 13.5% across the board, you know, when it comes to just simple lending. This would put a foothold in our community where we can start taking care of our own schools, because we know they don't want to, you know, do too much for our schools because of our zip codes, which is a travesty. You know, it should be, you know, per student, you know, each dollar You know, the state takes in so much money. They got so many students. Divide it up fair per student instead of this district get all the money, this district don't get the money, this school sucks, that school's great, this school can never become good, that school becomes the, you know, cream of the city. So these type of systematic things to start progress have to come to an end for us to ever get a foothold. If not, the fix is in. We'll never get on top. We'll never get even in a respectable position. We will be relegated to the bottom forever. That can't happen.
What is neo-restriction, Q? I know you talk about that in the contract.
Geo Reconstruction.
Neo-reconstruction. I'm sorry. Neo-reconstruction.
Geo Reconstruction is actually a section of it that was produced by Chris Broussard. You know Chris Broussard. He's a sports, you know, guy on the mic, and a guy named Rob Jones. You know, when I put out a contract with Black America, a lot of people reached out to me and said, "Yo, we got similar things. We got things that you know could coincide with what you're doing or enhance what you're doing," which is what we're looking for. So, you know, we brought Chris in and Rob Jones to help us to, you know, update our contract, because 2 weeks ago it was a little thinner. You know, now it's a little more dense, and we're just trying to get people behind it. You know, we got a couple of great people that prominent in economics, in civil rights, that's about to announce that they're going to get behind the. So we just want to build a wide coalition of people that that's smart, have great ideas, and that want to make this a better country. So it's really, you know, Chris and Rob's part of a contract with Black America called Geo Reconstruction, which really just breaks down numbers. You know, my thing is broad, you know, it's broad strokes, but we really need people who've been working on this stuff for years to dive in there and give us the real data that we need to present to the government. We need real data, and we need you know, a real tight document. So we're just working hard behind the scenes to make sure that happens.
Right.
When it comes to police reform, Q, how do you even stay encouraged or inspired? Because y'all have been talking about the excessive force from the LAPD in the Black community forever, and now all these years later, nothing has changed. How do you even stay encouraged or inspired that something could change?
Well, you know, I do see the changes. You know, before we did fuck the police, police could do no wrong. I mean, if they got on the stand and they said something, nobody even questioned if they were telling the truth or not. So police were put on this super high pedestal, and we knew, you know, some dirty, you know, police, you know, growing up, we knew them. And so we knew that wasn't to be true on how we was being treated. Our friends was being treated. You know, when you get rolled up on when you're 7 years old on your bike with your friends and get treated like you know, the hardest gangbanger in the neighborhood, it does something to you. It shows you that, you know they just doing it to intimidate you and to put some fear in you. And so we knew they was the biggest gang in the neighborhood. So we did our song. But by the time we did our song and Rodney King and all that came along, now you got police on trial. Now you had them being questioned. Now you have them being found guilty. So the program has pushed. You even see, you know, things happening now with George Floyd's death. You know, the chokehold is being banned in a lot of cities. You know, people are rethinking policing and how police approach the community. So things, you know, they change slowly, but right is right. And I think the country leans towards what's right. No matter how many, you know, people we got in this country that want to do wrong, I think the country leans towards right. So when you point out things and you keep pointing them out and you're not docile and you're disruptive in a way, people pay attention, they look a little harder, and when it's time to make the change, good people make the change. And the people that don't want to make the change really exposes their heart and exposes what they're really all about without saying a word.
And with all these camera phones right now and social media, I think it really does help so much to bring attention to what's going on, because just think back then, people didn't have that unless it was like a surveillance footage or something like that. There was no way for people to see what's going on. And not that it's perfect at all, because obviously we see videos and police officers are still not being held accountable, but now we can see what's happening. And so there's no way you can deny it.
Yeah, no way you can deny it. You know, everybody's a reporter now. Everybody's, you know, yeah, you know, so, and there's cameras everywhere, you know, from cell phones to ring, you know, doorbells to, you know, surveillance cameras that the government has. So, you know, you can't really get away with doing nothing crazy nowadays. So I don't understand why police still try it and still do it. And it's probably because of the qualified, you know, he just, you know, that cop who was on, or those cops who were on George Floyd, he knew he wasn't gonna get in trouble.
Yep.
He just knew, you know, nothing was gonna happen to him. And so that's the problem more than anything. You know, when you get somebody, you know, 12 weeks of training, like, you know, I heard a guy say, you know, lawyers go to school for 8-10 years, you know, DAs, judges go to school for 8-10 years, whatever. And you got police officers got a 12-week training course. You give them the gun and all the power to kill somebody. So it's just, it's too much power for a citizen, and it needs to be reeled in a little bit. And qualified immunity is one way to reel it in real fast, because everybody know, you know, don't do it because you can be charged.
Right.
Yeah, and they'll make you, like you said earlier, they'll make you pay for if you end up taking a life or something like that. You threaten a cop's pension, you threaten a cop with prison or taking away his pension, he'll think twice when he's out there in them streets.
Or even his home. Like if somebody gets into an accident on my property, somebody can sue me and possibly take my home. If he kills somebody, they should be able to take his pension, his assets, what he owns, all that.
Well, I mean, you know, if you get the right insurance, it'll just be stuck to that insurance. You know what I'm saying? So it's liability or you know, I forget the exact term, but there's insurance he can get where, you know, if he did something, the insurance would pay out, but his premium would go crazy and he'd probably get kicked off the force because they wouldn't want to deal with that. So, you know, it's just, we got to do something. You know, if the unions, police unions want to just sit and protect bad cops because they got the power, you know, unions, you fight for power because you don't want to get mistreated by the employer. But then you get to a point where the unions have the power and you start to abuse your power when it comes to asking for things you shouldn't really be getting. So, you know, it's an issue that I think we just got to deal with and not be afraid of. And, you know, even them talking about the spike in crime, you know, crime was always bad. Violence is always bad. And, you know, rarely is it a cop there to stop somebody from getting shot. You know, it's just, they usually there to come clean up the mess. So, you know, I just think it's a tactic that they're using to not a tactic they're using because violence is violence, but they're highlighting that it's more violence because we're not there. And that's just not true. You know, violence is violence. We got to take care of that, but we got to have good cops coming on the scene. You can't come on the scene and abuse the victim more. You know, I mean, who needs that? So we need a balance. We need some fairness. We need people doing the right thing. We need people that don't abuse their power. And then everything will be all right, I believe.
I got a few more questions for you, Cube. I want you to elaborate on racism being recognized as a public health crisis.
What is? You know, I just think, you know, went to mind, body, soul. You know, a racist encounter does something to your chromosomes, you know. It's like you feel it from the past. So, and I think it not only affects the person being abused, but the abuser. I think, you know, it's something, you know, deep down in the psyche that makes you think you're better than a person just because you was born with white skin that you didn't pick. So I just think it goes both ways. And I think a lot of people are dying. I think it's a lot of mental anguish going on. I think it's a lot of heartbreak, stress, and it's all, you know, unnecessary. So I just think it's to the point where it is a health crisis because people are killing each other over racism.
Now, I agree with you. It's called, I wrote about it in my last book. It's called Epigenetic Trauma. And it's the idea that trauma can leave a chemical mark on a person's genes. And they say it's passed down from parents to kids. They actually did a study on Holocaust survivors and their children. And they found like their genes were like the same, and the children didn't go through the same conditions as the parents. So it was passed down.
It's the blood. You know, we got the same blood running through us that went through all this horrific horror. That same blood is running through our veins. So we gotta feel it. It has to go down from generation to generation. That's why, you know, you look like your uncle this, and you know, you got forehead of your grandmother this and that. You know, it's like, you know, just like your features come down, you know, everything else come down too, and the experiences. So, you know, it's a lot of trauma that we're all living with that we don't even understand, but it gets triggered by traumatic experiences that, to me, are the same that your ancestors felt, or the same situation or the same feeling. So it's just too degrading to not see how it's unhealthy for everybody.
And another thing you talk about is representation, right, in the entertainment industry, and reparations for that as well. So I would love for you to expand on that, because obviously that's something you know way more about than all of us.
I think, you know, I talk about Black studios, and Black studios is virtually all the studios who've contributed in our narrative, in our pain, in our misrepresentation, instilling our history and giving it to, you know, white people, for over 100 years, you know. So I think these studios that we know to love should kick in to a studio that's ran by Black people with no outside influences, and whose movies and projects are owned by those Black people, those Black artists, those Black directors and writers, and people who put the project together should own the projects. And in these studios, they can license the projects, the movies or the TV shows or whatever, or they don't have to. You know, we can put them on our own streaming services. But I just think it's a form of reparations from the entertainment industry if they all had to, you know, invest a certain amount of money into the studio each year as payment for all the damage they've done to Black people, because you're not a real artist if you're not controlling the narrative of your art. You know, that's just it. You know, an artist is not true if he can't control his own narrative. It's, you know, it's more of a project than something like that. So, or, you know, you never know what type of, I know movies was propaganda at one point, you know, so you never know what tip people on. So we should be able to control we should have a place to go,
right,
where we know our movies are gonna be done right. That don't mean we don't ever do another movie with a MGM or Warner Brothers or Universal or whoever. That don't mean we don't never do another movie with them, but that means artists who, you know, every artist I know, every great actor or director or writer has 10 projects they can't get made because some white people don't understand what they're trying to make. And that's a shame. So we need our own place. And I know we're doing it, you know, extremely proud of Tyler Perry and what he's doing, you know, but that man had to do that with his own two hands. Right. And I just think it needs to be a place where Hollywood pays for what they've done to our people, because cops learn how to kick our ass watching TV when they little. That's where they learn it. And then they grow up and become cops and say, look, I saw this on NYPD Blue. This is how you're supposed to do them. Or I saw this on The Wire or some other shit that show us going to jail. You know, so it's Hollywood's burden as well. They're not innocent and they can't get away with just, you know, I ain't never hurt nobody. That's bullshit.
You know, I read Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's article, and I heard what Charles Barkley had to say. And since you're talking about Hollywood, you know, they said some of the things you said were anti-Semitic. What has been the response from some of your Hollywood connects about that?
I mean, first of all, I didn't say one thing. I didn't say anything. You know, they can't point out nothing I said. You know, they're clumping everybody together. Mm-hmm. Instead of looking at everybody as an individual. You know, we're all clumped in this wake. You know, people think I said what Deshaun posted. People think Deshaun said what Nick Cannon said. People think Nick posted what Deshaun posted. People think Steven Jackson said what Deshaun said. We're all in this wake, and we're not looked at as individuals. So I just think that's unfair, you know, because I didn't say shit. You know, you can't find a quote of me saying nothing. So I just think it's unfair. You know, everybody that know me, I know that's a cliche saying. Mm-hmm. You know, none of my Jewish people called me concerned, you know, saying, Q, what happened to you? You know, everybody know that, you know, being caught in the wake of this is unfortunate, but they're gonna shoot arrows at me because of the contract with Black America. Do not get it twisted. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It's because I have a bigger plan. I have something that can really, you know, change things financially for Black people. And a lot of these companies are what I call cookie jar companies. Cookie jar companies are companies where we caught your hand in the goddamn cookie jar. And we know you've been making money off of our pain, and you're going to pay for it. And we're going to hunt you down. And we're going to hunt every company down that's been doing it, unless you come up with a plan to pay for your sins. And that's really why I'm being attacked. So, you know, they got my brother Kareem to do the article. And, you know, Charles had his things to say. And, you know, I accept what they say. You know what I'm saying? They my elders. You know, they OGs to me. But, you know, I don't like everything they do either. So, you know, I'm pretty sure we can get past it.
Has this moment that we've been in the past few months, has it changed your sense of purpose?
Not really. I've always been on the same tip. Mm-hmm. You know, I just always felt like I was ahead of the curve sometime, and I just need to wait for the moment. Bush Floyd is the moment. And so, you know, I wanted to put down entertainment and put down that and pick this up and pick up you know, the torch. I mean, we need some generals out here. You know, I want to be one of those generals who figuring out a plan that we can execute that has a shot to work. So this is what I have taken on, you know, for the last few months, is just doing something to help our people get over this hump.
As a Black man who has accomplished so much, do you truly feel free in America?
No. There's no way to feel free in America, because I'm connected to our people, you know. So, you know, I actually feel the pain. You know, I watch. You know, you ever watch a show like Ridiculousness, and these dudes is falling and they hitting their head on the concrete and their arm, and you feel that shit. You're like, you know, you feel it in your bones. That's how I feel when I see something happen to one of us in the street. I feel it in my bones, and I don't feel free. I feel like that person. You know, I feel like that can happen to me. That can happen to one of my sons. That can happen to my daughter. That can happen to my nephews, nieces, my father. That can happen to my mother. You know what I'm saying? It's like, how the hell you gonna feel free in this country just because you got money? You know, that ain't shit. I mean, it's what you need, but it don't bring freedom. You know, it just allows you to maneuver a little better, but it don't allow freedom.
Does that make you feel a way when you're filming more movies and you say, you know what, I want to take the direction of my movies in another way, or I want to start filming this way, I want to start talking about this in my films?
Well, and I've used films for different reasons. You know, I do hardcore records, but with my films, I've always wanted to make people laugh and forget about their problems. You know, I've done some films like Boys in the Hood, but they were so similar to my records. You know, I think people go to the movies to escape the issues that's at hand. You know, to a certain extent.
Right.
You know, but now the movie experience is becoming, people are watching movies at home. You know, it's going to be a home experience. So I do want to do more dramas. I do want to do more movies that deal with real life situations. I always try to get them in no matter what movie I'm doing. Try to get in something that's real. But, you know, entertainment has been, for me, you know, movies escape. You know, people want to go laugh, people want to have fun, people want to forget about their troubles for a couple of hours. And to me, that's the best way to do it, is with a movie.
Right.
This is my final question, Q. White people seem to care about our issues now. Some of America seems to care about our issues now. An urban philosopher named Doughboy once said, either they don't know, don't show, or don't give a damn about what's going on in the hood. So why do you think they care now, or acting like they care now?
Reparations, you know, before that, you know, before Boys in the Hood, the interaction with the cultures wasn't that much in that, you know, in the 80s. It was just starting to interact, you know. And in the 90s with hip hop, it was just a straight integration of cultures through the 90s and hip hop. And can you still see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
But so through the 90s, you know, people started to understand, hey man, you know, I got Black heroes, you know what I'm saying? I put Black guys on my wall as my heroes, or female singers, or, you know, female athletes. So we've known each other now. We know each other. We feel each other. We can understand each other. And it's a newer generation that want to put the old shit behind them. It's like you got our generation in the middle. You got the older generation saying one thing, and the newer generation saying another thing, and we're in the middle. The younger generation ready to tell grandpops, shut up. You know what I'm saying? We in the middle, and we gotta make sense of it for both sides. We gotta be like, yo, pops, it's a new day. Yo, son, the new day is coming. And so they wanna be a part of the new day, you know, in a nutshell. They understand how wrong things have been and why the country feels the way it feels because of the darkness that's in the hearts of some of the people in our country. And they're ready to get past that. So that's why I feel like they're just as interested in getting past this moment, getting to the other side where we're all treated, you know, fair. And so, you know, they down with us, you know, like we've been down for forever. We're the best Americans in the world, man. You know, I mean, in this country, because we take so much and we still willing to be down with it. And so, you know, they want to be down with that. That's that love. That's that magic that people talk about.
Gotcha. Well, Q, we appreciate you for checking in this morning, brother.
And make sure y'all check out that contract for Black America, man. It's a website or something, Q?
Well, you can, you know, hit my Twitter, and, you know, you can get the link off my Twitter.
Okay.
You know, you can go to icecube.com and get it. And I appreciate y'all having me on. You know, I know we usually talking about a project, but this right here is the most important thing that I'm on right now. And so I always appreciate the Breakfast Club for letting me come on, say my piece, you know, straighten things out when things is you know, crooked. And I appreciate y'all, man. Much love, much respect. And keep doing what y'all doing, man. The people need y'all.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. We appreciate you too. Stay safe.
Yes, sir.
All right, salute.